If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Lowe's knows laundry day should be easy. Achieve maximum versatility with a dryer door that swings open either way, making load transfer from washer to dryer a breeze. Plus, with LG ThinQ, save time by controlling your washer remotely. Shop LG, America's most reliable line of home appliances, today at Lowe's. Based on independent reliability surveys 2021 to 2024 and select major appliances as compared to competing manufacturers offering full appliance lines. See associate for more details. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Exclusions apply. Valid 6/18 through 7/9.
And here is your host, filmmaker, Meosha Bean.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Creators to Creators today. Today we have a special guest,
Darren Mancini.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I'm so happy you could do this.
It's fun to be here.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen your stuff on Instagram for a while, and I was like, I have to, he would be such a great guest to have on the show because, first of all, you're an amazing writer. And just very talented all around. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about yourself, like your childhood and what was that like?
Well, I'm born and raised in Vancouver, BC, and Canada, like the Lower Mainland, as we call it. So growing up, it was, I was a film nerd, TV nerd, that kind of thing. And I was really into special effects. It was confusing because, everybody tells you when you're dyslexic, reading should be difficult and stuff like that. But your brain works in mysterious ways. And,
yeah,
it figures stuff out before you do.
That's so true.
And, you're plowing through it like in a week. And, it was like,
Wow, I love that.
Like I was saying, it never really was a consideration, but I would illustrate and write my own comic books.
Oh, wow.
And then, back in high school, stuff like that. And it was weird stuff, like slightly environmental message, like pollution created a whole new sentient plant life forms that protected a little girl who had an abusive stepfather kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
So, you're 16 years old and people are looking at you with this what?
Yeah.
But then when I started doing special effects and I was doing the script breakdowns, I kind of realized that a script is essentially a comic book without the pictures.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
So I was like, wait a minute, I can do this. And then after a while, I don't, for most writers that I know, working on set doesn't last long.
Right.
It does, you have to have that kind of mindset because it's a lot of long hours. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense and you got to be able to just roll with the unusual and otherwise you'll have a heart attack. But, just random stuff always happens. And and it's kind of fun because it's problem solving at its finest. There's really the unforeseen as well. You compound with, somebody just completely screwed up.
True that, exactly.
But
that.
But that doesn't get the pages written.
Yeah, exactly. All right, were there any favorite writers that you were like, okay, I like their style, but how did you find your own style in writing, or did you always was it something that you're still developing?
That came later.
Yeah.
The problem with the Vancouver film industry when it started out, there's a lot of trial and error, and there's a lot of feast and famine. So I used to say there's a 5-year cycle where crazy busy, then somebody decided to mess with the tax credits. Yeah, I remember being on set and all of a sudden the announcement was up, Universal's pulling out of Vancouver. And all of a sudden, we're striking all the sets for sliders and stuff.
Right.
And that kind of, that finally kind of worked its way out. But that's when I decided I had enough. There's accidents, and there seemed to be somebody dying on set like every other month.
Wow.
Like a stuntman, or even somebody in locations, and so you just like, hey, this not for me. Especially you're the one holding the trigger.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And we used to have the number one rule was, if you don't feel safe, quit.
Yeah.
They'll fix it to make sure, because it takes too much to replace you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're holding something where if you're not focused and the actress kind of turns the wrong way at the one side, as you pull the trigger, you blow off half her face.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's a good way to grow ulcers. So I went to film school, and one of the writing instructors, as I was going through, said, you're very Hitchcockian.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became, it's like, what are you talking about? And so you ran down to the, record store at the time and bought like a box set and went through all of Hitchcock's inventory. And it's just, I started, especially after watching North by Northwest.
Oh, yes. Such a good one.
The final line, when James Mason looks over Mount Rushmore and says, "That's not real sporting it's not very sporting using real bullets."
Yeah.
So a lot of, even back then, I had a lot of paranormal horror that you work at film school, as well as absurd comedies, and just getting through it. But ever since that comment, I saw the connection, and then it started to try to have that rhythm and without the whole thing about the comments that he made, like actors are like cattle and should be treated as such. There was something I thought was actually interesting, where he read in a book that he would pay actors to write their own dialogue. Interesting. So I kind of thought, because I'm always open. I'm not, this is my story, this is it's chiseled in stone, it's my way or no way. It's the script is just the blueprint, and it's just the jumping off point, because everything after that is creative interpretation. So somebody can interpret something and have way better idea. Right. Yeah. I'm more interested about being open to that and seeing where we can go with it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the thought of saying, like, to an actor after you go through and this is the character and this is the situation, and then they have like a different spin on it. Yeah. That could be really cool. Yeah, definitely. I'd rather explore that, but yeah, Hitchcock seems to be more, but lately it's been more like Taylor Sheridan, or nice. Some of the more, I don't know, they're not necessarily, like Shane Black would probably be, I think he's the more contemporary of the influences. That's awesome. That's really cool. That I love Alf. Like, literally, that's the reason why I got into filmmaking, especially in the horror genre. I always remember, like, going to the library one summer, and I all these Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and I was like, oh my God, I love it. I wanted to do this so bad. And he was just so beyond his time. He was so talented. And then just even hearing about his story was very interesting, and he was such an interesting person. But aren't they all? Yeah. There's something about every amazing. I don't. Maybe you might find it a little different, but I think there's more of a, back in that time, the 50s and 60s, there seemed to be more of a openness for something new and scary. Yeah. And a lot of it always, like, when people go on about like the history of horror and all that, and they go on, it's like, it wasn't gore. Right. So they always had something that they connected that's like within your marrow, that's terrifying. Yeah. And I always, sometimes, talking about with friends, it's like, even if you hate kids, if you see a little kid trying to cross the busy street, something in you goes, hey, wait a minute, this ain't right. Right. So if you're able to distill it, like, you can terrorize anybody. Right. Stephen King seems to love to terrorize kids. I mean, I love his work, but he just it's like, wow, okay, this guy.
I
does it
like.
with a smile on his face.
Yeah, I do. I do like it though. It's really good stuff.
Yeah. No, but there's something like delicious about it.
Right. Yeah, I know what you mean. And a little slightly sexual as well. Slightly, like the undertones and I didn't catch it until like some of the like films I watched. I was like, okay. But he's still brilliant. He's still brilliant. Not to say the least. He really is.
There seems to be sex and horror seem to be kind of hand in hand. Like,
right.
No.
I remember getting a project and this guy was like, are there going to be boobs involved? I'm like, I wasn't going that way. Like if it's tastefully done, then yeah, but if it's just there's no reason and it's like, like those storylines we see movies or whatever, and they kind of force it upon you. And it's just like, I don't really like it that way.
I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being an actor and an actress and like you got to do that on set.
Yeah.
You got the crew and you're just like, really? But does it actually move anything along in the story?
Right.
So I don't like sex scenes and I don't like the actual murder scenes because both things occupy time that something else could be way more fun.
Right.
For the audience and for like everybody else working on the project.
Yeah.
But everything that leads up to it and everything that happens after it, there's way more movement. There's way more story. So why waste a chunk of film,
You're right.
So, with the exception of like Mr. Brooks.
I love that one. That was good.
The couple's having sex and he's watching him right before he kills him.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not so much about the sex. It's more that how really evil is this guy?
Right.
And the fact that he was like tutoring,
Right. Oh, he was so good. Was that I'm gonna screw his name up. What's his name again? Not Michael Keaton. I always get it mixed up with
Kevin Costner.
But I really loved his performance in that movie.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I was like, oh, this is a really good film. He played the character. I like the glasses that they added to him. It makes him more strange and odd and weird, but also likable.
Yeah, but suburban dad.
Yeah, exactly. Like, really, this guy's killing people?
Yeah. He does your taxes and like that gave the scene like a high level of creepiness.
Yeah, it did.
So.
How do you feel like, now that we're living in a time now that everyone tells me, okay, Meosha, like we're in a time where there's social media is like huge, right? Getting your work out there is easier than it was years ago, or getting it seen. So they're like, do it yourself, start your own, don't wait on the phone, don't wait by the phone because you just never know, right? So are you a big believer in like just, you have a concept in your head, I'm going to just like knock it out. Just, you don't know where it's going to go, but just having those things ready.
Well, like for the past 10 years, it's been, I call it like there's a lot of hit and misses. And so now I have like a slate of like 21 partial.
That's great.
Completed, but not completed, or it was completed and then started working with a producer and then it's been rewritten 7 different times. And, and that's now turned into like a TV pilot.
We all know that owning a small business means you wear many hats, but sometimes you really need an extra pair of hands. Upwork is how good companies find great and trusted freelance talent. With more than 2 decades of experience with a simple and ambitious goal of pioneering a better way of working, companies at every stage turn to Upwork to get things done and find more flexibility in staffing key projects and initiatives. They access a global marketplace filled with top talent in IT, web dev, marketing, and more. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. With no cost to join, you can register, browse freelance profiles, get help drafting a job post, or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them to take your business to the next level. Visit Upwork.com today and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
With 3 episodes. And so focus is important, and it shows in your work.
Yeah.
And even when you go back and you start reading and what, it's like, you can see where you started again.
Right.
And so to be honest, it's like focus, finish one, and get it to a level, because the script is never finished. The project's never finished. Everybody's been on set where they're like, screw it. And they completely redo a scene because the light's gone.
Right.
So, like Steven Spielberg, but the famous scene in Indiana Jones where Harrison Ford had dysentery, so he shoots the swordsman, so, it's constantly, it becomes a living thing. So
right.
I think you have to figure out what is good enough for industry, what's good enough for you,
right?
But get to that point and then move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Like everybody has shared that meme of, Quentin Tarantino, finish your script, and he's not wrong.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? So, but finish one, get it out there, get on to the next one. My biggest fear is you only get better the more you do something.
Yes, very true.
You might get lucky once and you bang out something good once.
Yeah.
Then what?
Yeah.
You're going to spend the next 20 years trying to sell that one?
You're right. I love that. Do you believe, for instance, for me, I'm a woman in this business, so it's a bit different for men. Do you feel like things are changing? Are you seeing more of a diverse, I love your facial expression, a diverse group of writers, even in the writing room, or just diversity in itself? Do you see that there's a change happening?
In some cases it seems forced, and in some cases it's not nearly enough.
Got it.
Got into a big discussion where a writer had an idea about a North Korean defector.
Mm-hmm.
And then people got into saying that you're misappropriating a culture and all that.
Mm.
And no, because that's the job of the writer, is to be the expert of the subject.
Right.
So how did look at human history. How did noodles get to Italy?
Right.
Because somebody came and told stories about this amazing thing that they found in China.
Yeah.
Brought it back to Italy.
Absolutely.
So, but you need an expert. So yeah, you need to get somebody who, you'd have to talk to somebody who did defect from North Korea and go through it and find out everything, what they left behind and all the fears and everything that was at risk.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah.
But there's they always say, write what you know. So if you want to have a story, I have a story about the spirituality and the religious structure of the Hawaiian people.
Mm-hmm.
So getting into it, there's a lot you can get on Google, but you really need to talk to somebody who lives it.
Right.
That's something that they practice every day and really understand it. You got to be able to look in their eyes and you can feel, because like it's Google, right?
Right.
But there are some things like I've interviewed people that claim to be like possessed by demons and stuff like that, and things get really weird really quick.
Wow.
And so sometimes, you might need to have a little safety barrier.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think one of it is more of who's the best person in the room to get the job done.
Right.
I mean, it is the creative industry. It's the film industry, entertainment industry. So we're all getting paid to get a job done. So just saying it's, because a lot of the times I've been experiencing it's just filling a quota. And so somebody's friend of a friend is there and they're not contributing. They're not pulling any weight.
I see. Yeah.
So their name, it's part of the application. So they get the diversity fund. Like I had friends, she was like, I got hired to be a co-director. She never set foot on set.
Wow.
She was there for the casting and auditions, but as soon as the camera came, no, she wasn't on set.
Interesting.
So you're trying to get diversity, then hire the best person for the job. So that it doesn't matter. Like in Vancouver, though, you got to import people.
I see. Yeah, because I always hear like people say, well, you see movies where misogynistic, where it's like, okay, this character seems to be over-sexualized and it's written by a man. Not all the time, but I'm just saying, like, it's good to see that there are women kind of telling their perspectives and different, coming from a woman's vision would be a little slightly different. Not saying a man can't do it, but like you said, it's good to see like someone who's lived that, or like abortion.
Yeah.
It would be great to have someone, that's been through that and that can actually share that experience. Yeah. So
there's like things that, you can't fake it.
Right.
No, I think it's a lot of it access. I mean, it's one thing to say we need more.
Right.
But it starts at the source. Like, so we need more going to film school.
Yeah.
More, getting the training so they can, work the camera and sound.
Absolutely.
Like YouTube's got a lot of tutorials. I am a fan of film schools to a certain degree. I went to Vancouver Film School and I really don't think I got the $35,000 that I spent, especially when I had the opportunity to go to UCLA.
Nice.
And so I always tell people, like, go to Mecca. If you want to be a filmmaker, like you got to go to like a major center. Part of it is the education. The other part is the networking.
Yeah.
It's a different culture.
Definitely.
You get more of it where, we're just kind of flung to the city streets. Does anything that you like, I wouldn't say regret, but well, yeah, sure. Like regret writing. Or no? Letting other people's fears and insecurities affect everything. Like you other people's fears and insecurities start, stressing you out about the day job because you got bills to pay. And Vancouver has kind of rapidly become one of the most expensive places in the city, but in the world actually. But you let other people, because the stories, if it's important and if it's good, it sticks and it bugs you. It wakes you up at night. You roll over and start scratching at 3 a.m. on a notepad. You become sick when you're at work.
Yeah.
Because you'll be doing your day job, but all of a sudden so if you don't do it, it affects your life. And I let that affect my life way too long. And there's that meme about Helen Mirren. I wish I spent more time telling people to F off.
Yes.
You need that. I think at every kind of film school or any of these books about how to write and how to be a filmmaker, stuff like that, that should be like, as soon as you open the cover, this is what you're going to need to do. Friends, family, coworkers, you need to do this.
Definitely.
You know, and this next page would be, you know, find your tribe.
Absolutely. 100.
Yeah. You can't keep explaining yourself to every person you meet and every step of your day. When it causes depression. I'm not gonna, you know, try to be artsy about it. It causes depression I think that's just genetically human. If you're constantly trying to explain yourself every time you meet, because we always want to make that connection where we meet somebody.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to like people.
Yeah. Yes.
You don't want to, you know, not a lot of people. I'm sure there's a few, but I mean, wake up in the day, like immediately there's hate that, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, so every time you try to reach out and connect, and you get the skunk face, like, what do you mean? Like, I've actually gone on a date where I said, I'm, you know, aspiring screenwriter. And it's like, how do you write a movie? I see them with cameras and lights all the time. So you just,
Man.
There's several steps that happen first. And, you know, all creatives, whenever, it doesn't matter when you've got something and you're all excited and you're all jazzed and you talk with your hand, you're geeking out. And then you got somebody who's like, you know, supposed to be an important person in your life, and like, what?
Yeah.
And the most hurtful thing is, why are you wasting your time? You know, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right, because you need that support system.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you. I always tell people, like, you got to know who you are, because, you know, thank God I had a great foundation. I always say, having the foundation that I have, and that's definitely been helpful, because there are a lot of women, and not just women, but men, that kind of get persuaded to do other things. And so the thing that they came out there for, they're not doing it. And it's like, yeah, it's not good.
No.
So yeah, I agree with that. Is there any advice that you would give to anyone that wants to get into this industry or wants to become a writer? What advice would you give them?
You start small. Start writing shorts. There's nothing, you know, everybody looks for like the big payday, and, you know, some of these books, there's a lot of industry out there about how to be industry, you know, and they have, like, you know, $1 million screenplays in the title and stuff like that. And they have their place. There are some, you know, bits of knowledge in there, but there's a old John Cusack movie in the 1980s, Better Off Dead. And one of the lines in there, it was, once you have a bit of success, you find that it suits you. When you finished a short script, and, you know, it's 15 pages, 10, 15 pages, and it's completed, you can see it, and it's done, and you have a good positive feeling about the work that you did, because otherwise you're staring at a computer screen for a long time and you don't really see any progress. There's no instant gratification. And then even then, you still got to get it out there and get people to read it.
Right.
And for every executive you're going to hand it to, you're going to get a different opinion.
Absolutely.
And one, you got to know that before you get in. But start small, but keep going. Don't stop. You know, enjoy the success, but get on to the next one. And because it's not a one and done. You need to keep it going. Otherwise, then you're not writing.
Right.
You're not a writer. You're only a writer when you're in the process of writing, thinking about it, you know, talking. You know, I kind of, you know, humming and hawing about an idea. Yeah, that's part of the process, but you're not writing if, you know, you're not a writer if you're not writing. So, you know, just keep going at it. And I mean, Jerry Seinfeld has a little thing where about writing every day, and you have a calendar. And so even if you just write one scene, you wrote that day, you're a writer, cross it off. I used to be able to hack out like 10 pages an hour. Just, you know, it's more of like just outlining. But then always trying to hold myself, get back to that. And it's like, no, you know, don't beat yourself up, but start small, enjoy the success, move on to the next one, enjoy that success, and then, and keep going like that. Then the inherent negatives you're going to experience, you shrug off because you're looking forward to the next success.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Is there anything that you're working on, or how are you feeling about 2021? Anything you coming up?
I think there's going to be a seller's market.
Yeah.
I don't know about I don't think the movie theaters are going to go away.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a different experience going to the movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if, like, I went to the theater to go see Tenet. I can't imagine watching that on my computer screen or my TV.
Seriously.
No.
Seriously, yeah.
I think, but there's going to be more for like the streaming services like Shudder and stuff like that. Some of those things that, it's the story and it's the characters. So it doesn't matter the size of the screen or the sound, as long as there is the clarity.
Right.
But it's not the same theme park adventure ride. Like, I can't imagine like watching Jurassic Park or something like that on just the little TV. Even when you watch it, you're surfing something else. It doesn't engulf you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but with all the streaming service, that's 365 days, 24 hours. It's got to be filled.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think maybe the whole Hollywood system, the way like the $100 million paydays might become fewer and fewer. There's going to need the budget because you're going to have more and more crews. I mean, in Vancouver, we hit a record, over 74 productions and going on. And we were maxed out trying to find studio space, everything.
Wow.
Like productions were like rolling in when others are rolling out, and they're next door to each other, and you could hear, cut, action, right across the street.
Right.
And Hollywood's a global industry now. Like, it's not just California. There's Netflix changed everything.
Oh my God, right? Yeah.
It's a global community. They've been restructuring for a while, and that's going to be the new reality, is that they have to have, like, even now,
content. Yeah.
They're advising writers that if you're trying to sell to Netflix, you got to have a series planned for 3 years. Because they have the data at a click of a mouse, how many new subscribers are getting from the show.
Right.
And it seems to be a 3-year life cycle. So after 3 years, it seems that they don't draw in the new subscribers. So they cancel the show, make room for
another 2021.
So I mean, it's good time to be isolated, I guess.
I guess so. We'll see. It's funny. Things wasn't really happening for a good few months when the pandemic like kind of started. I was like, oh man, this sucks. But then, now things are kind of, you're having those meetings, we're talking more, and everyone's, want to shoot, even though they're terrified to make films, because you never know. You just never know. But I choose not to live in fear, but definitely be careful,
Yeah, acting the virus and is not necessarily meaning that you're afraid of it.
Yeah.
And I've always, because I'm at risk, and I remember when it hit, they're like, be careful because it could kill you in an hour. And so it's just, well, I take care of me.
Yeah.
With the intention that if somebody else don't care, then I'm okay. I'll be okay. But it's 24/7 input. It's kind of hard to fight that.
For sure.
We are preyed upon.
Right. Yeah. Well, is there any place where your tags so people can find you and follow your work and
right now, just on Instagram with the Rain City Writer, but I kind of more think I might be starting up like a YouTube channel.
Ooh, It's exciting.
But I don't know. There's a lot of the social media that, yeah, it's attractive and it's, you know, it's fun and stuff like that. But it's like, if I'm doing that, I mean, I'm sure you can tell everybody like how much time goes into like editing just this.
Oh yeah,
Right?
definitely. It's a lot.
When you're doing that, you're not on the page.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's what agents and, you know, managers are supposed to, you know, get your stuff out to the right material, your material out to the right people, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What are your feelings about like theft?
Well, yeah, that. Well, yeah, it's like, because you're right, because it's like you put something out there, right, and then it's out there.
Yeah.
Huge productions can see it. People can steal it and won't tell you. I mean, that's happened, and it's still happening, unfortunately. I mean, I had a friend of mine that, God bless her, she had a story, and I don't think it was copyright. I don't think she copywritten it at all. I think she just wanted to share it and get her idea out there, and it's really who gets there first, right? Who gets it out there first is the person who's the writer, you know, that they own it, you know, and it's like, it's unfortunate. So I'd say, just if you do put yourself out there, make sure it's copywritten so no one can just take it. So that's the problem. You just never.
Yeah. Do you copyright it with like the government or Writers Guild?
You could do both. You could do either way. I'd say for me, I did the government, but I've also done the Writers Guild way. So that we have people out there that are like, ooh, you know, that they can't come up with their own ideas. Like I did a short film, just really like 5 minutes, and I don't know the production company reached out to me. They were like, hey, we like this idea. Can you like send me this and da da da? Which is, nothing's wrong, but I sent it to him. But I always, you know, I obviously put your name and make sure everything is, you know, but they wanted to make the movie, and they were like, we really like the idea. And I'm like, I don't mind that, but, you know, I need this and this, and they just didn't want to do it. So it never happened. So it was like, oh, you just want to take the idea? Like, but I'm a big believer of giving people their credit. Like, I can read a script, and I always say, before I read the entire script, I'm like, let's sign a contract so we both know I'm not going to take your idea. I like to just cover my butt. Like, short films, sure, you can read that. That's fine. But like an entire script, I say definitely sign those contracts.
A friend of mine was dating a director of development at a studio, and she asked on my behalf for some advice, and his advice was, one, follow the money. Don't worry about agents, managers, whatever. If you have a deal on the table, they will come running.
Mm-hmm.
So just focus on your script and then getting it out to people who will actually write a check.
Right.
And then for theft, he was basically, it's going to happen. So the sooner you get that out of your system, the less money you will lose.
Wow.
So if it happens early on, when you're not going to be getting a 6-figure paycheck, maybe $100,
yeah,
might
I
be
know.
offered. Just
unfortunate. That's really unfortunate.
So it's going to happen, but like he said, take some steps. But he goes, even then,
never know. Yeah.
Senior people at studios have taken scripts.
Oh, yeah.
Like known writers, without even changing the characters' names or anything else, and gone through production when it's all been registered.
Wow.
And major stars attached, and then as the writer finds out when they're like set a release date and all that, and they're editing,
man,
and they have to pay the writer afterwards. So he was like, if you have an idea that somebody's stolen your script,
wow,
maybe just let them make it, because then they have to pay you in order to actually get it out.
True. That's another way for sure. I
had a pitch for a spy thriller, and then all of a sudden the plot line was basically my story came out for a Mission Impossible movie.
Wow.
And so you start looking through, and you're like, well, person I pitched to works for.
Oh, wow. Yikes.
So then you go and see the movie, and you're like, similar. Like really in your gut, like, yeah, if I wanted to be greedy, childish, and petty or whatever,
Yeah.
you get a lawyer, you spend a lot of money and time, and you go in there and you make, take it to court. Or, you know what, yeah, that's similar, but it's not my story.
Right.
You enjoy your time instead of becoming this angry little animal. You're spending more money than you're probably going to get.
Yeah.
Only the lawyers make the money.
I'm a big believer though, like, that's, I love to tell people like I am so, like, when I want to work with someone and I'm like, look, we're going to go through all the paperwork just so there's just no miscommunication, because I'm not that person. I've seen the really ugly side of Hollywood, and then there's the good side, and I would never want to do that to someone ever. It's just horrible.
Yeah.
That you have these vultures, but that's what it is, right? A dog-eat-dog industry where it's like so many people just want to get to the top, and they'll do whatever it takes to just plow you over. Just to,
it's
unfortunate.
To work themselves.
Right. Yeah.
I met a woman who worked for Universal Studios Legal, and she could only do it part-time because it was the constant attack of, you stole my idea. And they're not from writers, they're from average everyday people.
Wow.
They're just like, I had this idea, it's like, I told it to somebody who's told it to somebody's dentist who's told,
Wow.
But they gotta go through it all.
Yeah.
And they gotta defend the studio. So I was like, wow.
That's something else. Well, hopefully, that's why I really think it's important to, like, have your own, like, it's good to be a part of the conglomerate of Hollywood. It's great, but I always say my goal is to have my own production, my own studio, and where that I can treat people. You want to treat people right, because there's so many people being, taken advantage of. I mean, not just writers, but actors.
Oh,
just so many people. It's bizarre.
Like on set, I don't know how sets are like legal, the conditions on a set. And I a few years ago, I was sick and was in the hospital for a bit, and when I came out, wasn't really physically able to do much of anything. So I started working as an extra, because that's your movable set deck. You just walk up and down, stand there.
Yeah.
But some of the cast, like above the line, like what some of them go through is just kind of like, wait a minute. And there was an actress up in Vancouver who actually came right out and said, I worked on a project and I worked with this director, and I had like a nervous breakdown afterwards. I had to start going to the therapy, and I haven't been able to work since.
Wow.
And you hear all these horror stories about actors and actresses being like terrorized and verbally abused in order to get that reaction. And it's like, well, no, they're an actor. This is what they do for a living. Just let them go do it. Yeah. But it's not enough. So they straight up abuse people.
Yeah.
On set. There's been a few times where I've been sitting, I'm like, kind of looking around, like, and I mean, even I, like, as an extra, just you're going to be a riot cop, So half the day you go stand over there because there's a pylon we can't get rid of at the construction site down the street. So the big orange cone we can see clearly. So you and this other guy in your riot cop uniform go stand there in front of it to block it.
Wow.
Well, that's great. That's half the day. But right. the other half was a riot scene where we're being attacked and punched by stunt performers, and we're supposed to be separated. Stunt performers attacking each other, and everybody else just look all mean.
Right.
Nope. I ended up getting punched in the face, thrown against the car. A guy reached up underneath and under the visor and got me in the eye. And then, like, the very next day, I was scheduled for 3 days on a Hallmark movie. So,
yikes.
You'd be all clean shaven and all that.
Man.
So we had to argue, like, hey, like, we're getting slammed around. That's stunt performer.
Right.
Right. And they started to argue. I'm like, the black eye that's growing, it means I can't work for the next 3 days.
Right.
Like,
oh my God.
So
that's crazy.
That's minor in comparison. But
that's unfortunate though. It's still like the fact that, you didn't sign up for like to get hit in the face. It's like, just wanted to be an extra and do my job and that's it, safely.
Yep.
But it never like you're right, it never goes the way we plan. Like that's why I kind of stopped the whole acting thing. Like my IMDb says actress. I'm like, but because I did do acting for a bit. And then I stopped because I had some really bad situations. I was just like, I cannot. If I dealt with that, I can only imagine,
Yeah. I can't imagine anybody holding an audition at a hotel. But early on, I worked with a director who they were doing auditions in meeting rooms at hotels. But there's the casting director and everybody else, and it's, a banquet room at a hotel. It's not a guest suite.
Right.
And you have the camera and the lights and everything and the monitors so they can see what they look like on camera. And I got fired because as I was operating the camera and an actress came in and the whole movie was about a team of police during a riot get separated from the rest of their team, but are actually on the opposite side. It was kind of like an Escape from New York kind of vibe. It's supposed to be set in the future and they're supposed to be high tech and all that. They're all in the full near RoboCop kind of outfits,
Love it.
The actress comes in, she does her thing, and the director immediately turns to the casting director, who is a woman, and says, I don't think she has the right assets. And I kind of turned to him, I'm like, how could you tell? They're wearing body armor.
Like, whoa.
So I was like, she was great.
Wow.
Because it was a lower budget, so I don't know, for like actors, with my experience, I was always take a class where you learn about body mechanics in front of the camera.
Right.
Because what you're doing in the scene sometimes looks a little goofy on the camera.
Yes.
And a lot of people, come from stage and they're, and jazz hands and all. So I'm like, no, and I'd have to show them, like, this is the frame.
Right.
So this is it.
Here. That's all you got.
Keep it tight. And she was great. She came in and she knew exactly the right line, and everything was going in, and the way she delivered her lines, I thought she was like the best. That felt like an authority presence, like felt like she was a cop.
Yeah.
Like she was able to
awesome.
ooze that actually. And so when you started going on, hey, she doesn't have the right ass. I just you're going through the script in your head, like, I don't remember a bikini scene.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Let's not do that. Let's just make a good story and let it not be about looks or boobs.
Bra size.
You give me hope that it's not everyone. So yeah, thank you. It's refreshing to hear.
Well, I'm hoping like the days of the Roger Corman booby slasher films are over. There's always like semi-naked woman running around a house with some knife-wielding maniac, and
yeah,
there's nothing fun.
It's exactly.
No.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was so lovely talking to you and just picking your brain. It was so good.
It was great. Good fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, I guess, we'll just be watching out for all the new things that you're coming out with the next year, and, what's coming from your brilliant brain. It's going to be
Here's
fun.
hoping.
Yes, definitely. It will happen.
There we go.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and always remember to live, love, laugh. Bye, everyone.